What's the fastest way you've seen someone improve their life? Worked with a guy at AutoZone that had 2 sets of kids and 2 sets of child support payments. He worked 40 hours with us and then 30 to 40 at a grocery store, just killing himself to survive. Turns out that he was like 9 hours away from a degree he had begun a decade earlier, and he just randomly mentioned it to a coworker while they were stocking things. The managers at both stores knew his situation and worked his schedule together to get him the hours he needed. They started a tuition fund that anyone could donate to, and both sat him down to say he needed to finish his school. The school put together a prereq class for him, which he made an A in, and off he went, 1 class at a time. 1 year later he walked the stage with a marketing degree and turned his whole life around at 41 or 42. A friend met the right girl. He had been mostly insufferable for years, overly needy and demanding of his friends while simultaneously annoying and picky and abrasive at the same time. He met his now wife and he mellowed out 100% and is now cool to be around again. Might sound weird, but they spent a night in jail. A friend of mine had been a little bit of a fuckhead the past few years. Good kid at heart, but had a terribly addictive personality and was hanging out with shitty people, in debt to all his friends because he was buying way too many drugs and way too much alcohol. Lost one of his 2 jobs for showing up high too much. You get the idea. He just sucked at saying no to people and his self-control suffered for it. Well, he ended up getting a DUI, and as part of the punishment he had to spend the night in jail. I never used to believe in the whole scared straight thing, but it seriously worked. I picked him up the next day and he looked like he'd seen a ghost. Just kept saying, "I never want to end up like the people I saw in there, man," and shaking his head. It's been almost a year since then, and he's been totally on the straight and narrow. Got a promotion at work, is making rent on time. I haven't seen him have more than a couple beers in a sitting in that time. He hasn't really elaborated on what he saw that night besides a couple stories about some real tweakers, but whatever it was, I guess it set him straight. My brother picked up the phone and called me instead of ending his life. Not really fast, but I stopped taking drugs about 6 months ago. It's like night and day the difference. I knew a guy in my master's program who was overworked to the point of exhaustion. He had to keep a job as well to pay for all his bills and student loans, on top of taking 5 higher level classes per quarter. We had an email chat group with me, him, and like 5 others. One day, we all get an email from him saying he was sorry he wasn't going to be able to help us finish our project, and that he was dropping out of school and we wouldn't see him again. All of us really liked the guy, and we told him as such. We also told him things he probably didn't hear too much, like "You are a vital part of our group," and that we relied on him for not only his work, but his general input as well. A few hours later, he emailed us back saying he thought it over and was not going to drop out, and he was sorry for clogging our email feed with his stuff. A year or so later, his GF, who became a mutual friend, told us that not only was he simply thinking about dropping out of school at the time of the email, but actually walked to a bridge to end his life that day. He's a high-level manager at Amazon now with a wife and 2 kids. It's fun to check up on him time to time and see how happy he now is. I don't know if us just showing him gratitude that day helped him step away from the edge, but I'm sure it helped at least a bit. It makes you realize that people just don't tell other people how grateful they are for them enough. Always let people know the nice things you are thinking of them. My lifelong friend went down the heroin/jail path in his early 20s. His personality was always to go with the flow, for better or worse. He became part of a terrible group of people that routinely did awful shit in order to score. Imagine robbing your own grandmother, that caliber of desperation. After a stint being locked up and getting clean, he stopped talking to anyone from that group. No communication whatsoever. Cold turkey. Lived with his mom. Found a job he could walk to since his driver's license was long gone, and started getting in shape physically. He did counseling, broke his heroin habit, got into martial arts as a positive outlet for his energy. Talking to him now, he says breaking contact with all those people was the only way he made it out. About 10 years ago, a guy walked into my credit union, sat down at my desk and said, "I need help." He sure did. Dude had thousands and thousands of dollars in high interest, unsecured debt. This debt was costing him over $1,000 a month in payments. He and I got to work. We consolidated, we refinanced, and we had a fun little credit card execution ceremony. All said and done, we saved him about $500 a month in payments. We put together a plan to use half the savings to continue putting toward the debt for a snowball effect, and to save the other half in an account I would lock up for him. Fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, I saw him at a community event. He told me he is completely debt free, including his house, and has savings for his children to go to college. We hugged and chatted. He never did give me a secret gold coin or grant me 3 wishes, but I was beaming like a motherfucker, so that's good. A guy I know constantly looked so tired and napped all the time during the day. He would nap so hard that you would have to shake him to wake him up, and he could fall asleep anywhere super fast. I asked him about it, and he told me he felt tired all the time because he couldn't sleep at night. He figured he just had insomnia or something, but refused to go to a doctor about it. One day he had a legit mental breakdown after a few drinks. We basically had to babysit him all night, and I'm convinced it was because of his constantly exhausted state. Not long after that incident he went to the doctor about his sleep, and it turns out he had been living with severe sleep apnea for years. The doctor told him he was basically on the verge of a heart attack or stroke because of it. Now he sleeps with a special mask at night, and he has completely changed for the better. He visibly has way more energy and his performance in school went through the roof. Edit. I have got tons of comments from this post saying it inspired people to go have an appointment with a doctor, to which I say good. I can't stress enough how much getting treatment helped my friend. It's fortunate such a debilitating condition has such an effective and immediate treatment available for it, so by all means, go check it out. Take care. My coworker dropped out of high school and basically just became a druggie until he was about 21, working odd jobs and occasionally being homeless. After that he decided to take a brief web development course. I think it was an intense 9-month course or something. Basically a full-time job, and now he works in web development with me. He'll sometimes mention how he thinks my 4-year degree is impressive, how he regrets wasting all his time, etc. But I think it's pretty impressive to go from where he was to being in the same career as me. Changing their social circle to people who make them uneasy because they are so far ahead in terms of mindset and comfort zone. Who you surround yourself with plays a huge part in who you are subconsciously. My buddy was a little chubby and decided he would start working out. A year later, he is pretty jacked. Nice. My sister was in a really toxic relationship with a complete basket case. Dude was a one-ape tough guy and was always putting her down. She is a very outdoorsy person and loves going on hikes, working in the forest, and is studying to become a forestry biologist. He had 0 of her interests, never went with her on hikes, hated the forest, not very fond of animals. They never ever got along, but refused to break up because it'd leave him with nothing. One day she meets a nice guy at her new job, who's super into hiking, loves working in the forest, loves animals almost as much as she does, and genuinely enjoyed her company. Not to mention he bought his own truck with money he saved up. It was a used Toyota, but still impressive. I think that was a wake-up call for her. I think she realized there are decent men out there, and she could have won if she wanted to. She immediately broke up with her old boyfriend and started dating the new guy the same day. We were a little worried at first, because breaking up with one guy and immediately going to another is usually a bad sign. But after getting to know him, he ended up being a nice guy with a sense of humor and decent social skills. They've been together 3 or 4 years now, and so many of the issues my sister was dealing with have dissipated. She's more financially independent, doing well in her classes, has a better outlook on life. He stopped playing League of Legends. No, seriously. A friend of mine used to spend basically all of his free time in LOL. If he wasn't sleeping, eating, or in class, he was in a game. And the weird part was that he didn't actually seem to enjoy playing either, like it was compulsive or something. No matter if he won or lost, he'd be crabby about it. even in the rare instance where he wasn't playing a game and got invited to a social event. His sleep schedule was so messed up he usually wouldn't make it anyway. He finally decided to try giving it up for Lent and just never went back once he realized how much of a negative effect it had been having on him. He started eating better because he wasn't just going for whatever microwave crap he could eat while playing, exercising, because now he had time and energy to do so, taking care of his appearance better, because why would he have shaved, showered regularly, and done laundry when he was just sitting in his room all day, sleeping a normal amount, and actually connecting with people beyond just seeing them in class? The transformation was honestly impressive. He went from one of the most stereotypical depressed neckbeard freshmen I've ever met to a happy healthy college kid in the span of a couple months. Moving to a new state and starting over. It's short term, and if you don't keep doing the work necessary to improve you will slide into old behaviors. But just riding the novelty of it all in the beginning can set you up nicely. A fresh start can't happen when you're doing the same old things. Not very fast, but my morbidly obese friend started exercising and dieting, and has lost 60 pounds over the last few months. I'm super proud. They are like a completely different person. Full of energy and confidence. I hope they stick to it. One week in high school I decided that I would go for a bike ride every day after school. Massive improvement in attitude and motivation. I began to like school more, got my homework done earlier, and I also got into shape, which was an added bonus. My dad left my mom, and she was solidly depressed for a year, and then suddenly she exploded with self-improvement. She joined a bunch of volunteer positions, met a bunch of new people, became part of the in crowd in her city, literally goes out every night with her friends, and has a lover that pays for her trips to Europe, where they travel around on a motorcycle. Also, she joined a gym and lost a bunch of weight, started taking care of her appearance. It's strange to think just a couple years ago I would hear her sobbing in the shower, and now she's this powerhouse. Edit. This didn't happen overnight. There were a lot of downers I left out, and it took a whole lot of freaking effort on her part and some therapy, but my mom has always been very strong and able to lift herself out ruts. She's not the perfect person or mother, but I can only aspire to someday be the extraordinary woman that she today. My father has his faults, and may not have turned his life around so drastically, but I look up to him as well. Edit 2. My mom was really touched by the positive comments. She wants me to clarify that she does not go out with her friends every night. She works 40 hours a week, and they go to events around town, like plays and charity events. And I got it wrong. Her boyfriend doesn't pay for her trips, she pays for herself. A very close friend of mine decided to call me at 3 AM, sobbing uncontrollably, word vomiting about all of the problems he was facing. I sat there and talked to him until around 10 AM. We went that afternoon, got him checked into some rehabilitative care. Fast forward a year to having lunch with him and having him grab my hand, half sobbing, telling me that me answering the phone is what stopped him from shooting himself. Please, be like my friend. If you are ever struggling, please, just make a call to anyone. Woke up on May 15th flat fucking broke, unemployed, living in a weekly apartment I was about to lose. Today I have a full-time job with insurance as of 12/1. And I'm typing this on a computer in my break room. And when I get paid Friday, I'll have money left over from my check 2 weeks ago. Amazing how quickly your life gets better once you stop putting your entire check up your nose. D.